In the midst of the chaos of the Battle of Okinawa, a Fletcher-class destroyer is sailing through the gunfire on radar picket duty when it is struck by a Japanese kamikaze and sinks in less than an hour, killing 126 sailors. This is the short but interesting life of one of the many Fletcher-class destroyers, the USS Twiggs. Twiggs was the second ship to bear this title, named after Marine Major Levi Twiggs, who was killed during the Mexican-American War of 1846. After being launched in April 1943 and commissioned in November that same year, she had a shakedown cruise to Bermuda in December 1943, and then operated out of Norfolk, Virginia as a training ship until May 1944. When she departed Hampton Roads, Virginia, with a convoy consisting of 3 destroyers, including her, and the carrier USS Franklin. They travelled down the Atlantic coast, through the Panama Canal, and to Pearl Harbor via Los Angeles. After arriving in Pearl Harbor in June 1944, Twiggs took part in exercises in Hawaiian waters and escorted convoys operating between Oahu and in Weirtok. That's definitely not how you pronounce that, but I'm sorry. Throughout most of July, Twiggs worked out of Inuiatok, alternating exercises with escort and radar picket duties. On the 19th of August, she returned to Pearl Harbor to begin rehearsals for the long-awaited return to the Philippines. And on the 15th of September, in preparation for the assault on Leyte, Twiggs departed Pearl Harbor as a member of Destroyer Squadron 49, or Desron 11, Screening Task Group 79.2. After final preparations for the impending invasion, she departed Seattle Harbor on the 14th of October, arriving off Leyte on the 20th. On that same day, Twiggs helped to provide anti-aircraft cover for the transports during the landings. In the following days of heavy enemy air activity, she continued to support the invasion and, on one occasion, rescued a crashed pilot from the USS Petrov Bay. She departed Leyte on the 25th of October, steamed via Manus, and arrived back at Seattle Harbor on the 1st of November. Throughout November, she carried out short patrols around Seattle. On the 10th of December, Twiggs left Coastal Roads between the islands of Peleliu, that's not how you pronounce that, and Anguilla, with a task force bound for the occupation of Mindoro Island. Luzon was the gate to the invasion of the Philippines, and Mindoro was a perfect place to start the attacks. Thus, Twiggs provided anti-aircraft cover fire for the forces as it steamed through the Surigao Strait and the Mindoro Sea between the 13th and the 17th of December. Late in 1944, Japan's navy began common use of kamikazes. On the 13th of December, a Japanese aircraft, presumably an A6M20, crashed into the USS Harridan, a nearby carrier. A nearby destroyer. Twiggs aided the severely damaged destroyer, fighting fires and treating casualties. She was then dispatched from the convoy to guide Harridan until she made visual contact with a tow ship off Silanao Island. She then returned to the Mindanao Sea and resumed her duties with the task unit. US Army flight out of Leyte, starting up in late 1944, gave extra protection to the convoy, and thus making Twiggs unneeded. She retired to the Palau Islands on the 20th of December. She then sortied from Coastal Roads on the 1st of January 1945, protecting a large task force intended for the invasion of Luzon. In the Sulu and South China Seas, several ships of the convoy were hit by Japanese kamikazes, And on the 4th of January, Twiggs rescued 211 survivors of the USS Omni Bay, lost after a kamikaze attack. Raids by both torpedo and kamikaze aircraft continued as Twiggs operated northwest of Cape Bolinao in support of the Lingayen Gulf Assault. After taking on food and ammunition at Mindoro, she briefly ran anti-submarine patrols off the entrance of Manganin Bay, and underway on the 21st, she arrived in Ulithi on the 25th of January for minor repairs and maintenance in preparation for the conquest of the Volcano Islands. That was a mouthful. Through the 10th of February and the 12th of March 1945, she joined the newly assembled Iwo Jima bombardment group and provided shore bombardment for the American troops. She left 2 weeks before the island was taken on the 26th of March, in order to sail back to Ulithi for replenishment. On the 25th of March 1945, Twiggs sailed as part of Task Force 51 and arrived off Okinawa to take part in pre-invasion shore bombardment operations. In addition to anti-submarine and anti-aircraft patrols, she supported ground forces with night bombardment. Kamikaze aircraft were very active at this time, as the Japanese desperately defended the island with every last thing they had. On the 28th of April, a day of very heavy air activity, a kamikaze splashed close to Twiggs' starboard side while she was on radar picket duty with Task Force 51. Bomb blast and shrapnel from the crashed aircraft blew in the hull plating between the main and first platform deck, causing quite bad structural damage. The underwater body was dished in and the starboard propeller was bent. The USS Nestor repaired the damage, and on the 17th of May, Twiggs returned to duty with the gunfire and covering forces off Okinawa. In June, the Battle of Okinawa was coming to a close. Twiggs continued her normal radar picket duties in the western fire support area and supported strikes on Ihashima and Aguni, with pre-landing bombardment and gunfire support. On the 16th of June, she was on radar picket duty off Sunagashima in the western fire support area. At 20:30 hours on the 16th, Twiggs was continuing her radar picket duties when, out of the blue, a Japanese torpedo bomber, presumably an A6M-30, came in at speed on her port side and dropped a single torpedo. It struck true, exploding her No. 2 magazine. The plane then circled back and completed its mission, crashing into the starboard side amidships and engulfing the vessel in flames. The fires quickly overran the crew, and within an hour she had sunk. The USS Putnam, an Allen Summers-class destroyer, was nearby when she sank and reportedly picked up 144 survivors, with the other 44 being picked up over the next 3 hours after her sinking. In total, 126 crew were killed when she went down, including her commanding officer, Commander George Philip Jr. Thank you very much for watching. I apologise for the mistakes I've made in this video, as I haven't made a Warship Wednesday for quite a while at this point. I really appreciate all the support that you've been giving me, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next week. Thank you all very much for watching, and, well, cheerio.